Urodach. This is Aikido's immovable stance. We use this for throwing stability. If you notice, the front foot faces forward, rear foot faces 90 degrees to the side. It can also turn 100 or 110 degrees to the outside, depending on what we're using the stance for. The hands encircle each other with fingers facing each other. We call this the ring of iron. But the stance is mutable. It can change. It's not set in stone. If you notice, I have 50-50 weight distribution here, but it can even go 70-30 or 80-20, favoring either the forward or back leg, and the body can face forward, diagonal, or sideways. Kotegaeshi ho. This is a wrist exercise, means wrist reversal. Notice my thumb is on my ring finger knuckle and the other one is grabbing the meaty part of my thumb. It's pretty much airtight and I'm pulling down and outward. If you notice my body rocks a little bit forward, I'm trying to do this to get used to the idea of transferring weight to the front foot so you can take a fall here. But notice again, here's the grip. Get it nice and tight. Palm faces the bicep. Pull down and outward as you rock your body forward and back. Just getting used to ukemi for that. Yubi osae ho, finger stretching exercise. I grab the ends of my fingers as my palm faces out, thumb faces to the side, and I extend it out, down, and back towards me as my body rocks forward, in case I have to take ukemi from this position. But I apply pressure to the ends of the fingers, creating a fulcrum from the back of my hand as I pull from the fingertips. Shihonage ho. This is the forward direction arm stretch. Do a shoulder stretch by swinging your arm across your chest. Bend the arm to the outside, grab the pinky side of my wrist with the underside of my other arm. I know it's kind of a lot to do. The flexibility on this is pretty crazy in order to get into this position. But once you get it, it's a great stretch for the shoulder and arm. Zengo Undo, Aikiage to the front and back. Notice the basics apply the same as 12th Kyu, where Aikiage is pushing with the bone of the wrist, raise up and outward, and then of course you're looking through the triangle of the hands, kind of like down the scope of a gun. And basically you're going to make sure that your hands land forward before your foot finishes. So shuffle step, tenkaya, shuffle step, make sure your hands are there to protect your face. Sao Uno, side entry exercise. Notice that I keep my head forward. My weight shifts from the outer leg of the side that the palms are up, like I'm going to catch a bale of hay. This is the throwing family of Sayu Undo, Aikidaoshi, and Sukui Nage. Mai no Kosa Sayu Undo. This is a front crossover step version of Sayu Undo. Notice that I cross over the front and then my heel is in line with my rear knee. And it's just crossed over that way. And then, of course, I'm going to step out to the side, driving off that front foot. This is just a variation of Sayu Undo. Zenpo Kaiten ukemi. This is your forward roll. Notice I put my hands together, fingers facing in. Where have we seen that before? The circle of iron. But you're going to also tuck your chin to the rear side as you push off your rear foot, kick yourself over, and roll from your shoulder to your far hip. So it creates a diagonal line across your back. I kick off that rear foot and I'm going to make sure my hands don't collapse as I roll in a ball, almost like I have a beach ball in between my hands. Now this standing method is just a application to show what's going to be done next at some point in the future. But really, it's the kneeling one that's needed for the testing requirements. This one, I'm actually covering my face as I go so I can get used to more application. Of course, you're still going to lean forward, kick off your back, roll forward diagonally across the shoulders, and then come up with your hands in front of your face to protect your face in case you're coming up in front of an opponent. Katatedori Irimi ho. This is a single wrist grab entering exercise. Notice I'm going to apply some back pressure in towards his center before I step across and enter up and in. If I don't do this, I'm going to run into some issues here. So back pressure, step across, Aikiage. It's very similar to the uke nagashi wing block, just done low. I'm going to point my elbow out, palm down, and then enter, as you can see there. People wonder why we do it this way, but have somebody grip you extremely strong and not let you move, and you'll see why we do it this way. Katatedori Tenkan, single wrist grab turning exercise. Notice I can't move him unless I do the preset again with back pressure, meaning I'm going to do uke nagashi into his center. If I just push or pull, I won't be able to move him. So I preset him. This offsets his balance in a different direction before I actually turn and scoop. Scoop like you're scooping sand underwater, and make sure that you're stable, your shoulders relaxed, and you're pivoting on that front foot. Now here we're doing a more flexible movement. This is the next step after learning the static movement, which is required for the test. Now in this one, we don't have to preset because we're not statically grabbed. Ryotedori Ryo Soto, 2 hands onto outside double circle escape. So with this, you're going to actually push in slightly and then fling down with your hands using your lats, come out around the outside, twisting his wrists almost in a Nikyo position, and then forcing his wrists back in to release the grip. Ryotedori Ryo Uchi, this is the 2 hand onto inside double circle escape. Keep your arms heavy like they're moving downward, and then drive upward and outward from the inside over the outside of his wrist, pressing them inward to escape the thumb and fingers. Kosatedori Hazushi Jodan. This is a cross hand grab escape to the upper level. So notice with this one, it's like cutting downward, like you're going to avoid his hand from underneath, and then cut over the top. I'm going to step out to the side slightly so I can take an angle and not try to lift him from directly underneath his grip. So here you can see me moving to the side. My hand also cuts from underneath to over the top towards his center. This is going to mimic almost an ikkyo. At the top, cut back towards his face and center. Chudan, middle level escape. Notice with this one, I'm going to make sure not just my thumb, but the top part of my wrist comes out over the top, and it draws his wrist in towards me and then away in whichever direction I want to cut him to. Just make sure that it stays in front of your center. But notice I still step out to the side here so I don't meet his force directly. Gedan, lower level escape. This is also going to start with a heavy hand so that he feels pressure downward before you move up and out over the back and side of the wrist. Very similar to a dynamic movement where we actually cut the side of the wrist before it grabs us, but notice I still move out to the side. I'm going to go up and over to the outside and cut it down behind his knuckles. Okuri and Hineri Munetsuki. This is a jab cross to the solar plexus. Notice that with this, I'm moving in a straight line, and as soon as I punch out, I pull back and I throw the next punch by twisting. My hands are going to take the horizontal orientation on this one instead of the 3/4. The retraction here is very important. It also sets up the next punch. Notice here, as I hit, I get up on the ball of the rear foot. Now put all together at regular speed. Oikatsuki, lunge punch to the face. The target areas include the nose or the chin. The fist turns over into the 3/4 orientation. As I twist, I also step forward with my leg and turn my hip so I can develop some power using my body as the driver. Notice my hands stay relatively relaxed from my hips and sides. It can be almost as if you're walking and then you throw a punch. Very similar to the rowing exercise. Keep the hand relaxed until impact and then drive it towards the face. Don't draw it back and telegraph the hit. You also don't want your body to fall behind here. Make sure it's one smooth motion. Pay attention to the non-striking hand. Make sure you're covering either side of your cheek or in front of your center. You always want to protect your face when you're hitting. Shomenuchi Aikiage. This is an upward rising parry. As he strikes, we're going to deflect it using Aikiage, but not as a block this time, but as an actual deflection. Notice I shuffle in with my outside foot. We're in the Aihanmi orientation, and as he steps forward, I go ahead and slide to his side. Extend out towards uke. We call this the prayer block because of the way the hands are pressed together. Sukui no uke nagashi. This is the scooping wing parry. Notice that I use the wrist and bottom portion of my palm as I scoop out, protecting my face or center line, just in case his strike gets through or my timing is wrong. I'm still protected. And then you don't want it away from your face, otherwise you notice you'll get hit. Here, we just make a quick movement, turning outward from the inside, and we scoop it. It can be the same side or the cross side, doesn't matter. Regardless of stance for testing, we're just doing it off his front hand jab. Suwariwaza-Ryotedori Kokyu Dosa. This is a breath-powered training exercise. The double refers to using both hands to corkscrew in towards his chest. Notice I'm using my shutetsu, which is the back portion of my center, and I'm going to drive both elbows up and out, thus working on his balance. Then we'll work into alternating. This is going to move and tilt his shoulders to each side. So notice if I try to just push in with my arms, I can't do it. But if I use the shutetsu to move him, otherwise it's going to be very difficult and you're going to go force on force. And the bigger man will win. Drive with my body, then I can move him easily. Nagewaza is just the throwing version. So we're going to do all 3 for testing. But make sure that you flare the elbows out on the double. Turning and throwing, we're going to do it as if we're turning a steering wheel here. Notice I cut down on the wrist on one side and press towards the shoulder on the other. We might not even actually touch the shoulder. Sometimes the arm and forearm are so tight that it moves his whole body through the grip itself. And here, of course, we want him to leak energy out to the sides as we throw him. We're steering like a bus driver would, a big steering wheel. Now put together, flare his elbows, tilt his shoulders, then drive one side pushing and pulling as you steer him over. And finally, we're going to add the pin. So you're going to follow him with your knees in a short sheet. Extend into the ground at his wrist and shoulder, sitting in a very solid posture. Thanks for stopping by for the second installment of the Kyu testing requirements. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks.